The war came without warning. The humans had barely settled their new colony on the edge of known space when the skies burned red with enemy fire. Ships tore through the clouds, scattering the ground forces and crushing defense towers in minutes. No one had expected the Sharath Empire to attack so soon. Not after years of silence. Ethan Cole, a field medic, had been stationed near the colony's hospital. His job was simple: patch up wounds, save lives, and keep moving. But when the first wave of alien fighters hit, chaos swallowed the streets. He grabbed his emergency kit and ran toward the sound of screaming. Dodging falling debris and broken metal. Smoke filled the air, mixing with the scent of burnt circuits and blood. He saw soldiers dragging the wounded into cover, shouting orders over the noise of explosions. But in the middle of the street, alone, was a small figure, a child no more than 8 years old, standing frozen in fear. Her skin was pale green, and her pointed ears marked her as alien. She was not one of the colonists. Ethan didn't think. He sprinted toward her, bullets and energy beams slicing the air around him. A blast from a nearby building threw him to the ground, but he forced himself up, his knees aching, and scooped the girl into his arms. She was light, trembling, and bleeding from a deep cut in her side. As he ran for cover, her eyes opened slightly large, golden, and filled with pain. She whispered something in a language he didn't understand before falling limp against him. Ethan's heartbeat hammered in his ears. He had no idea who she was, but he knew she wouldn't last long without help. Inside the wrecked hospital, the medical staff were already overwhelmed. Beds were full, supplies were low, and the noise of battle outside made it almost impossible to think. Ethan carried the girl to a corner table and quickly assessed her injury. Her blood was darker than human blood, thicker, and it wasn't clotting fast enough. "Get me the universal transfusion kit," he shouted. But when the nurse checked, the result came back grim: no match among the supplies. No compatible alien donor in the colony. The girl's breathing was slowing. Ethan's hands shook as he made a decision he'd never been trained for. Pulling out a portable analyzer, he pricked his own finger and ran the scan. Against all odds, the results flashed partial compatibility. It was dangerous, risky, and maybe even deadly for both of them. But there was no time to think. "Hook me up," Ethan ordered. The nurse hesitated. "Do it," he barked, and moments later, his blood began flowing into the alien child's veins. He watched as her pale skin regained a faint glow, her shallow breaths deepening. His head grew light, his vision dimming, but he didn't stop. The battle outside could take his life at any moment, but right now, this girl's life was in his hands. When the transfusion was done, Ethan slumped back in his chair, exhausted but alive. The girl opened her eyes again, looking at him with a mix of confusion and wonder. She reached out a small hand and touched his wrist, as if marking him in some way, before drifting back to sleep. Hours later, the colony's defenses finally pushed back the enemy. The survivors gathered, counting the dead, tending to the injured. Ethan stayed by the girl's side, making sure she remained stable. He still didn't know her name or where she had come from. That night, as the med bay quieted, the doors slid open. A tall alien woman stepped inside, her beauty striking even in the harsh hospital light. Her green skin shimmered faintly, her long hair braided in an intricate style, and her golden eyes locked on Ethan. She was armed, armored, and carried herself like someone of high rank. Without a word, she walked to the girl's bed and knelt, touching the child's face gently. Then she turned to Ethan, her gaze intense. "You saved my daughter's life," she said in perfect English, her voice smooth but heavy with emotion. "Among my people, that means you are bound to us." Ethan blinked, unsure what she meant. "I just did what anyone would do," he said. She stepped closer, her expression serious. "No," she said. "You gave her your blood. That bond is sacred. It is life itself." By our law, you are now part of my family." Ethan felt a strange weight settle on his chest. "I don't understand," he said slowly. The alien woman's eyes didn't waver. "It means," she said, "you must become my mate." Ethan stared at her, unsure if he had heard correctly. The words hung in the air, heavier than the sounds of battle that had faded outside. The woman's golden eyes didn't blink, and her stance was unshaken. She meant every word. "I think there's been a misunderstanding," Ethan said carefully. "Where I'm from, saving someone doesn't mean marriage." She tilted her head, studying him like he was an unusual weapon she had never seen before. "On my world, blood is more than life. When one gives blood to another, their spirits join. To refuse the bond is to dishonor the gift." Ethan felt his pulse quicken. He wasn't ready for this. He had joined the colony to help people, not get tangled in alien traditions. "Look, I'm glad your daughter is alive." "That's enough for me," he said. Her eyes narrowed. "It is not enough for me," she replied. "Your blood runs in her now. That makes you part of my clan. And my mate." Before Ethan could answer, the girl stirred in her bed. She opened her golden eyes, saw her mother, and smiled weakly. Then she looked at Ethan, her small voice breaking the tension. "You stayed," she whispered. He nodded. "I wasn't going anywhere." The mother's gaze softened as she stroked her daughter's hair, but when she looked back at Ethan, the determination returned. "You will come with us when she is well," she said. "We will speak before my people." Ethan opened his mouth to protest, but a sudden shout from the hallway interrupted. Two human soldiers rushed in, their faces tense. "We've got incoming," one said. "Not Sharath's ships, another group. Unknown." The alien woman's expression changed instantly. She moved to the window, scanning the dark sky where faint lights glimmered. "They are not my enemies," she said, almost to herself. "They are here for me." Ethan felt a cold twist in his stomach. "Here for you? Why?" She turned back toward him. "Because they will want to see the human who dared to give his blood to a princess." The word struck him like a blow. "Princess?" He glanced at the small girl in bed, suddenly realizing the danger. If she was royalty, there would be more than gratitude involved. There would be politics, power, and people who might not like that a human had interfered. The building shook slightly as a deep humming sound filled the air. The alien woman's hand went to her weapon. "Stay close to my daughter," she ordered. "Do not let anyone touch her until I return." Without another word, she strode out of the room, her armor gleaming in the dim light. Ethan looked at the child, who watched him with trusting eyes. He didn't know what was coming next, but one thing was clear: he was now part of something much bigger than himself. The door hissed shut, and the sound of footsteps and voices filled the hall. Somewhere above, engines roared. The girl reached for his hand. "You're not afraid?" she asked quietly. Ethan hesitated, then squeezed her small fingers. "Not as long as you're safe," he said. But deep down, he knew fear was already crawling through him. The humming outside grew louder, vibrating through the hospital walls. Lights flickered overhead, and a low, rhythmic thump echoed like the heartbeat of some giant machine. Ethan kept his eyes on the door, his hand still holding the girl's. She looked calm, almost as if she knew exactly who was arriving. "It's my mother's people," she said softly. "They will take us home." Ethan wanted to ask more, but the door slid open before he could speak. The alien woman stepped inside. Again this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her came 4 armored figures, each one towering over Ethan, their armor marked with glowing patterns that pulsed faintly. Their helmets hid their faces, but their presence filled the room like a storm. One of them spoke in a deep metallic voice. "Is this the human?" The woman nodded. "He is the one." They looked at Ethan for a long moment, their unreadable masks giving nothing away. Finally, one of them stepped forward and removed his helmet. His skin was the same green. Shade, but older, with scars running along his jaw. "You risked your life for the princess," he said. "You have done what none of our people have ever allowed, a blood union with an outsider." Ethan swallowed. "I just saved her. That's all." The scarred warrior shook his head. "No, you changed her, and now you belong to her family." The words felt heavier now, especially with these warriors standing so close. Ethan glanced at the girl, who seemed to be listening carefully. She smiled faintly at him, as if this was all good news. The woman, her mother, spoke again. "We are leaving this place. The colony is not safe for her. You will come." Ethan hesitated. "And if I don't?" Her golden eyes locked on him, steady and unblinking. "Then my people will see it as a rejection of the bond. They will not take it kindly." The armored warriors shifted slightly, their movements deliberate and slow, like predators waiting for a signal. Ethan realized he didn't have much of a choice. "All right," he said quietly. "I'll go." The princess sat up, her small hands gripping his arm. "You'll see my home," she said with a smile. "It's beautiful." The group moved quickly. Outside, the hospital parking lot was lit by the glow of a massive alien ship hovering just above the ground. Its hull was smooth and silver, with streams of blue light running along its sides. A ramp extended from its belly, leading to a shadowed interior that hummed with life. Ethan followed, his heart pounding. The closer he got to the ship, the more he felt the weight of what was happening. He wasn't just leaving the colony, he was stepping into another world entirely. Inside, the air was warm and carried a faint scent of metal and flowers. The corridors curved gracefully, the walls glowing softly as if alive. Alien crew members moved with quiet efficiency, some bowing slightly as the princess and her mother passed. The woman led Ethan to a private chamber, its walls lined with strange symbols. "You will rest here," she said. "We have far to travel." Ethan looked around. "Where exactly are we going?" She paused at the door, her gaze holding his for a long moment. "To the heart of my world," she said. "Where our people will decide your place in our future." Then the door slid shut, leaving Ethan alone with the sound of the ship's engines. The journey through space felt longer than it was. Ethan had no way to track time, only the steady hum of the engines and the soft glowing walls of his chamber. Food was brought to him by quiet attendants, strange but tasty dishes, clearly prepared with care. The princess visited him often, her energy returning day by day. She told him stories of her people, her home, and the endless oceans that covered most of her planet. Finally, the ship began to slow. A deep vibration rolled through the floor, and a gentle chime echoed in the air. Ethan followed the princess and her mother to the viewing deck. Outside the massive window, the alien homeworld filled his vision. It was breathtaking swirls of blue and green oceans, chains of emerald islands, and huge shimmering domes glinting in the sunlight. Large silver ships moved between the domes like slow-moving fish in a vast, glittering sea. As the ship descended, Ethan could see crowds gathered along sleek platforms, banners of gold and white fluttering in the ocean wind. The landing was smooth, but the moment the doors opened, the air hit him warm, salty, and filled with the scent of flowers. The princess's mother walked ahead, her steps measured, her armor gleaming. Ethan followed closely, with the princess holding his hand. The crowd stared at him, some with curiosity, others with thinly veiled distrust. They were led into a towering structure shaped like a seashell, its walls carved with moving light patterns. Inside, a circular chamber waited, filled with high seats. Each seat held a figure dressed in ceremonial robes, their eyes sharp and unyielding. This was clearly the ruling council. One of them spoke, his voice deep and smooth. "You are the human who gave blood to our princess." Ethan nodded. "Yes, I'm a medic. She was hurt, I just wanted to save her." The council member's gaze was steady. Do you know what you have done? Your blood is now part of her. That bond is unbreakable. By our law, you must take the place our customs demand." Ethan felt every eye in the chamber on him. "Her mother has already told me," he said cautiously. A ripple of murmurs moved through the council. Another member leaned forward, her expression unreadable. "Then you understand you must become her mate when she reaches maturity. And until then, you will live as one of us." The words hit him like a wave. The princess squeezed his hand, gently, as if to reassure him. Her mother's face showed no sign of doubt or hesitation. Ethan took a slow breath. "And if I refuse?" The chamber fell silent. The first council member's voice was cold. "To refuse would insult our law. It would be seen as a rejection of the royal blood. Our people would not forgive it." The weight of the situation pressed on him. He wasn't just dealing with one family, he was caught in the heart of an entire culture's belief system. And here, belief was as strong as law. The council dismissed them, but as they walked out of the chamber, Ethan could feel the stares of the alien leaders following him. Outside, the princess's mother stopped and looked at him. "You will have time to adjust," she said. "But remember, your life is tied to ours now." Ethan said nothing. His mind was already spinning, wondering if there was any way to keep his freedom without sparking a war. Life among the princess's people was unlike anything had known. He was given a home inside a tall, elegant tower overlooking the endless ocean. The walls shimmered faintly at night, glowing with patterns that reminded him of waves. Servants brought food and clothes, and everywhere he went, people whispered about him, the human who had given royal blood. The princess visited him daily, often bringing small gifts. Seashells that glowed in the dark, thin ribbons woven from sea plants, and carved stones with tiny inscriptions. She told him stories of great sea battles and legendary rulers. Her voice filled with pride. The mother, her name was Serenia, watched everything closely. She treated Ethan with a strange mix of courtesy and ownership, as if she was still testing him. She began inviting him to council meetings, feasts, and ceremonies, always introducing him as the bonded one. At first, Ethan kept his head down, trying to adapt. But as days passed, he began to notice things. Guards spoke in hushed tones about unrest in the outer islands. Servants avoided certain hallways in the royal complex. And whenever he asked questions about the attack on the colony, the answers were short, careful, and often changed the subject. One night, he wandered through the palace gardens, drawn by the sound of the ocean beyond the walls. The air was cool, the stars bright above. He found an older alien man sitting alone near a fountain, his robes marked with the crest of the royal. "Healers, you're the human," the man said without looking up. Ethan nodded. "I am. You're a healer?" The man's golden eyes met his. "I was." Before I spoke truths the council didn't want to hear. Something in his voice made Ethan pause. "What truths?" The man leaned closer, his voice low. "The attack on your colony, it wasn't just the Shirath. Some among our own people allowed it to happen. They wanted the princess in danger." Ethan felt a cold chill run down his spine. "Why?" The old healer looked toward the sea. "To make you a hero, to bind you to her by law. Some believe a human's blood will bring strength to our line. Others think it will keep us from war with your kind. Either way, it was no accident." Ethan's mind spun. If what the healer said was true, then the whole thing, the chaos, the rescue, even the bond, had been planned. He remembered the explosion, the girl's injury, the desperate need for blood. Was it all staged? The healer stood. "Be careful, human. You are not just her savior. You are a piece in a game far older than you know." Before Ethan could reply, the man disappeared into the shadows of the garden, leaving only the sound of the waves. That night, Ethan lay awake in his tower, staring at the ceiling. His life had been changed forever, But now he wasn't sure if it was fate or someone else's design. Asterisk, the morning after his meeting with the old healer, Ethan was summoned to the royal audience chamber. The message was urgent. Serenia wanted to speak to him before the council gathered. When he arrived, the room was empty except for her. She stood at the center, wearing ceremonial armor that caught the sunlight streaming from the high windows. Her eyes fixed on him the moment he entered. "You have been restless," she said. "Your questions reach too far." Ethan didn't waste time. "I spoke to someone last night. He told me the attack on the colony wasn't just bad luck. He said some of your people wanted it to happen, to put your daughter in danger, so I'd save her." Her jaw tightened, but she didn't deny it. "And if that were true, would it matter? You saved her. You are alive. And now our worlds are tied." Ethan took a step closer. "It matters because I was used. My life, my blood, your daughter's life, all of it turned into some political plan." She met his gaze without flinching. "Yes, it was planned. There are those in the council who fear the future. They believe your blood will strengthen our line and protect us from war with your kind. I did not choose the danger, but once it came, I chose to honor the bond." Ethan's hands curled into fists. "And what about what I want?" For the first time, her voice softened. "What do you want, Ethan Cole?" He looked at her, at the woman who had watched over her people like a hawk, at the mother who had knelt beside her injured daughter, and at the leader who had stood against her own council. He realized the choice wasn't only about him, it was about the girl who now carried his blood. "I want her safe," he said finally. "Always. And I won't be your pawn to keep the council happy. If I stay, it's because I choose to, not because your law forces me." A long silence stretched between them. Then Serenia nodded slowly. "Then stay. Not as a captive of law, but as guardian to the princess." When the council gathered later that day, Serenia addressed them with calm authority. "The human has chosen to remain," she announced. "But not as my mate. He will serve as protector and advisor to my daughter. When she comes of age, she will choose her own path, bond or no bond." The room erupted with voices, some outraged, others relieved, but Serenia's tone silenced them. "This is my decision as ruler and mother. The bond is honored, but it will not be forced." Ethan felt the tension in his chest loosen. He had a place here now, but it was on his terms. That evening, the princess ran to him in the palace gardens, her golden eyes bright. "Mama says you'll stay," she said, smiling. "Will you?" Ethan knelt and smiled back. "I will. I promised to keep you safe, and I keep my promises." The ocean wind carried the scent of flowers as the sun dipped below the horizon. For the first time since the attack, Ethan felt at peace. Whatever games the council played, he would be ready. And this time, the choice was his.